Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3, and what do you know? It's time for another top 10 list. The thing is, I've had numerous of like top 10 lists waiting just to get made into videos, basically. So I just basically went through my IMDb page, and the list there that I haven't published yet. Uh, and this is going to be a really interesting kind of subject because today I'm going to make a top 10 list of my favorite Uwe Boll films. And then you might ask yourself, Uwe Boll? You're a fan of Uwe Boll? And yeah, I can say I am. I mean, sure, he has made some really horrible films, but I don't think they are as bad as many people make them out to be, even though some of them are really atrocious. And it seems like it's a popular thing to just hate on Uwe Boll just because it is directed by Uwe Boll. So I mean, I think that's really silly. And I mean, if you really think Uwe Boll is the worst director of all time, you haven't seen too many shitty films. So yeah, that's just my intro for the video. So let's begin right away with the top 10 list. So at number 10 we have this might be the most violent, most gruesome Uwe Boll film in my collection, and this is really tense and really good. I mean, there is some really questionable CGI in this, which just looks awful, but I mean, other than that, it's a really interesting type of film. So the first one is Seed from what's this, when does this come out? 2007, yeah, at number 10. There are some really, I mean, for a Uwe Boll film, this is really gruesome. It might be his most gruesome film, to be honest, about the serial killer going around killing people. They execute him, and then, of course, he comes back to life to kill more victims, basically. So, yeah, like I said, I mean, it looks kind of ugly, and some scenes really goes on for way too long. And it's very, very dark as well. That's also a flaw of the film, but the gruesomeness in this just makes it really, like, interesting to watch. Even though some of the CG is really bad, but yeah, it's still an entertaining type serial killer film. I mean, not too bad, I must say. So yeah, Seed at number 10. Then at number 9 we have, let's see, yeah, the next one is called Darfur, which I am not sure. I think this might be based on true events. Yeah, based on shocking true events, it says. It's basically like this about a bunch of military soldiers, or like not soldiers, it's American journalists in Sudan. I think that's what you call the country. I think it's also split up at this point, like from west to east or north to south or something. But anyway, it's basically about the tragedy there with the civil war and stuff in that country. So and all of those journalists, it's basically up to them to try to escape from this scenario after a while. So, and it gets really dangerous as well. So not too bad. This also has Edward Furlong in it, I believe, if I'm not completely wrong about that. Edward Furlong, Billy Zane, Kristanna Loken. So yeah, you got that. So yeah, Darfur at number 9. Now let's see. The next one is another war type film called Tunnel Rats, which I might also assume this was in. I mean, some of these films I've not seen in ages, so yeah, excuse me for not remembering everything about the films. But yeah, this is about the Vietnam War, which doesn't really come as any surprise because the Vietnamese people, they were really experts in digging like tunnels in the ground, and that really were the benefit for their victory in the end. I mean, was like one of the worst things in American history, basically, or like the downfall, or not downfall, but one of the worst failures, you could say. I mean, it sounds really weird, but I mean, this film looks really good, and it just feels like this had a really big budget behind it as well. I mean, of course, it's nowhere near as like the biggest like war films out there, but for a Uwe Boll film, this is still pretty damn entertaining. So yeah, Tunnel Rats. If I remember correctly, some of the dialogue in that was quite questionable or like quite stupid, but I mean, that's it. Then we have at number 7, we have his. I'm gonna be hated for this, but I think some of these films I've seen. The first time I watched some of these films were on TV, and I think it's sort of like a nostalgic. Has a nostalgic value for me in some way. I mean, of course, some of these films are not really any Oscar material or anything near that. I mean, some of these are really like schlocky and stupid, but I mean, sometimes it just feels like if you've seen a film on TV like back in the day, you sort of like appreciate it a little bit more if you just had seen it quite recently. So, so the next one at number 7. Now I'm gonna talk about that. In the Name of the King, the Dungeon Siege Tale. This also had like I think it's 2 sequels as well, which I have not seen. I've only heard really really bad things about those. But this really comes across as like a Lord of the Rings ripoff in a way. I'm not too sure. I think this might be based on some book or some video game or something like that, because I know Uwe Boll has made plenty of films based on video games. So it might be one of those cases, but I mean, if you just go into this blindly, you can just feel that this really feels like a Lord of the Rings ripoff. And Jason Statham just does not. He does not. He feels so miscast in this, and Burt Reynolds seems like he just doesn't care. And also, what's his name? John Rhys Davies. He is probably my favorite character in this entire film. But I mean, if you like schlocky, like not low budget, because this is actually a pretty big budget film, but if you like Lord of the Rings-esque type adventure films, you might like this one as well. But keep in mind, this is long away from the quality of Lord of the Rings. But if you like fantasy films in general, give this one a shot. So yeah, In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale. Then we have at number, no, let's see, yeah, at number 6 we have, oh my god, this is gonna be, I'm gonna be hated for this. So yeah, number 6 we have Far Cry, which is based on the, of course, the video games. I've only played Far Cry 2 myself, the one that takes place out in, I think it's somewhere in Africa. I can't really remember which country it's supposed to be, but really interesting game, and really like, it's basically about you are a soldier out in this jungle, and you have to fight yourself through a bunch of roadblocks and drug lords and stuff like that. So yeah, but I mean, this, if you have played any of the games, this has nothing to do with the Far Cry games, at least what I've been told. And I mean, this definitely is a film that I have a love-hate relationship with, because this film is so incredibly stupid and so incredibly bad to a certain degree that it gets really, really funny. And there is a character in this that I can't remember his name or any like the character name, but there's a character, pretty big character. I mean, he not big as in a big role. He's quite large in his size. He always seems to eat sandwiches all the time, and he's complaining, and he's having really weird dialogue, and his behavior is really strange. And I mean, I know most people probably hate his character, but I thought his character was so incredibly funny and charming in a way. It just feels like you took a character from like a comedy and just put him in a random action film. It just comes off as a really weird ass thing. But anyway, I mean, Far Cry, I mean, if you've played any of the games, I mean, you're gonna be pissed off about this probably. But I mean, it's fun. It's good fun. Now let's see. Then we have number 5, which is this. Also, this one, along with Seed, is probably his most violent films. So, yeah, at number 5 we have Stoic, another film that is based on true events. Apparently about these prisoners, where I think it's 4 prisoners, and one of these prisoners, like one of these 4 prisoners, that he gets really bullied, and they are picking on him, and they tease him, and they beat him up. And I mean, this is a really vile and gruesome story, and I think also that the acting is really great, and I was really surprised to see once again with Edward Furlong in this. He did a really good job as well. For those of you who know, I am a big fan of Edward Furlong in general, so yeah, there you go. But also I would say they also have like sort of like interviews with these 3 prisoners who pretty much harassed this 4th prisoner, like intercut in the film, which I thought was a really clever and really interesting way of telling the story. Not too sure how close this is to the actual events that took place, but man, oh man, this is some really gruesome stuff in this, which I am not going to talk about because I want to let you know by watching the film yourselves. So yeah, Stoic at number 5. And then we have number 4, which is this is a really entertaining film. The film is called Attack on Wall Street. I think this goes under some other title. I'm probably going to leave the link down below to the IMDb page or something. But this one is basically about this businessman, I believe. Is he a businessman? Yeah, but it's basically like his life pretty much crumbles down because this society has failed him or something like that. It's something about the downfall of Wall Street or something, and he gets in the middle of this awful thing, and yeah, it's basically like the system has failed him basically, or society has failed him, so he pretty much goes berserk. And yeah, really great. I mean, the character, not the character, but the actor in this, Dominic Purcell, I've seen him in other like Uwe Boll films as well, and I thought his acting was decent in those. I mean, not really spectacular or anything, but this is really his best I've seen him in, like the best film I've seen him in. That's what I wanted to say. All other than that, once again, Edward Furlong shows up in this one as like the friend of Dominic Purcell's character. Purcell, yeah, Purcell. So that was quite funny as well. And also, what's his name? There's another. I mean, I think they are supposed to be cops or security guards. I'm not completely sure, but I mean, Edward Furlong and Dominic Purcell, they are cops basically, I believe. And there's a third actor which is really well known. Is it Keith David, I believe? Might be. I'm not too sure about it, but I might have to look it up after a while. That sounds weird. Eric Roberts is also in this. What's his name? Of course, his name doesn't even stand on the front cover. Well, that's what you get sometimes. But anyway, now I'm been mumbling about this for way too long. Yeah, this is really entertaining. So yeah, Attack on Wall Street, highly recommended. Now you're gonna see a specific pattern in this because all these three are part of the same series or whatever. So yeah, and yes, I know this. I'm just gonna make sure this is not the Blood Rain films because I've only seen the first one and that was pretty damn bad. So anyway, at number 3 we have Rampage President Down, which is the third movie in the Rampage series. Obviously, it feels like this doesn't really have as big budget as the other two. But still, I mean, it was a nice little ending, and apparently Uwe Boll intended this to be the last film he ever directed, even though I think he's directed maybe 1 or 2 other films after this. But, I mean, the reason why this is lower down on the list than the other two, and now I'm pretty much spoiled it, but I mean, the reason why is because some of the storyline just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I'm not gonna tell you too much about this one unless you've seen the other two, because yeah, if I basically tell you about this one, I'm basically spoiling the other two. So, but anyway, yeah, Rampage President Down at number 3. Then we have, of course, you're gonna see the pattern here, Rampage Capital Punishment, which is the second one. Feels a little bit more polished in a way, like it looks better than the first one. So in terms of like picture quality or like camera movement or camera work, this looks better than the first one. But I would say I prefer the first one because it looks so gritty and vile, and it just really fits that film. But I mean, if you've seen the first one, definitely check out the second one and the third one, but don't have your hopes high enough to think they're going to be any better than the first one. That's what I want to say. But yeah, Rampage Capital Punishment, the second one. And then, of course, yeah, you already know by now, the first one is the first. At number 1 we have the first Rampage. And yeah, now I can tell you a little bit about this film because yeah, I didn't want to tell you anything about the sequels, but it's basically about this guy that he just fed up with society in general, and he just goes berserk and go out and kill people. That's not really any big spoiler because most people probably know this by now. and the portrayal of the character, what's his name? Well, of course they don't state what his name is, but I think, I mean, anyway, the main character in this, the main guy, Bill, not Bill, Bill is his character name. Oh, it's another character there, like an actor that I really need to read up a little bit about before I made this video, basically. But anyway, Rampage has some similarities with Assault on Wall Street. Not as good, because this is more vile and more gruesome and more action packed in a way, and I can definitely see people being, oh, this is so controversial, it should be banned. But then again, I mean, that's like really what it's really about. I mean, this is such a great film because of how incredibly realistic it looks. So yeah, really well made, and yeah, really entertaining film in general. So yeah, Rampage at number 1. So yeah, that's my top 10 Uwe Boll films in my that I've seen. I've not seen Postal, and I've not seen the Blood Rain sequels. I've not seen in the Name of the King sequels, and I have not seen what's that? House of the Dead is another one which I haven't seen, and I have seen Alone in the Dark, and that was awful. But yeah, that's just me. So yeah, anyway. Hope everyone enjoyed this top 10 list, and yeah, keep your eyes open for the next video, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.